Okay, so I made this chart here. These are different sectors of our personalities. Um, Let me explain it because there's a lot going on. So above this line where it says productive, these are all good things. We want to, this is the ideal. We want to be up here and up here, with sometimes over here. It's okay to dip down a little bit, but these do not serve us. This is the worst. You never want to be in gremlin mode, as I decided to call it. So let me elaborate on all these things. So the warrior is what I call when you're just in a very like CEO, um, entrepreneurial, just grind state. It's where you want to work. You don't have to work. You want to work. You're focused. You purposely go out of your way to get challenged, and obviously the gym is in there as well. The warrior is very focused on his physical health, his mental health as well. He's not as focused on his mental health as what I called the monk stoic. Now, the monk stoic is the second most important. You want to be in the warrior state every day and spend a good amount of time also in this monk stoic state. You don't need to be in the friend state every single day. You can, and that's still fine. If you have a family, you probably should every day. If you're like me in your young 20s, it's not essential to be in that every day. But here we go. So all three of these are very productive, but these two are the ones mostly focused on health. This is focused on social health, yes, but the physical, mental health is the warrior, monk. The monk and stoic, they're kind of the more into the nature. They like to be outside, very good for your serotonin and stuff. The meditation that is heavily involved in this state is what's going to help you stay in this warrior state. If you have bad mental health, you're not going to be able to stay in this state. You might not even be able to reach this state. So that's why meditation, eating right, is going to help. You can't be in these two states as a human without ever going into the friend state at some point in time. And the friend state's more of just that social need. The community and family, if we spend an adequate amount of time with those values, it will motivate us and give us a reason to be in the warrior state. Now, sometimes when we have this social need, we go into the party state instead. Now, this is heavily on dopamine. Both the junk food fits all three of these down here, so I kind of put that in the center there. But the partier likes the junk food, it likes the drugs, the nicotine, the alcohol, the sex, and the more of these things that it indulges in, the closer it gets down to the gremlin state. Now over here in the nerd state can be like the friend state. Like if you and your friends are playing some video games, which is totally fine over here and there, but when you're just doing it alone, you're now in the nerd state. Now the nerd, unlike the monk and stoic that learns skills and learns productive things like other languages, learns about mental health, learns things that are going to give it something it can do to produce more, it learns things that are worthless. It spends 4 hours learning Skyrim lore. Now, not everything, when I say learn fantasy, that's just a synecdoche. There's other worthless things in the nerd state, such as if you spend hours watching political stuff on Facebook that's very biased or just aggravates you, that's learning fantasy because it is a little disconnected in reality. Just learning things that do not benefit you, that lower your mental health. Phone, TV, video games, those are all things that I put under this title nerd. And that's going to bring you down closer to the gremlin state. You notice that the nerd, the partier, and the gremlin are all very consumer based. Yes, the friend can be a little consumer based if you go out to like the movies or something with your friends, but that's not nearly as bad. That's not going to lead to negative things, especially because the friend is able to do it in moderation. When you do need to consume, because everyone needs to consume, obviously, and be a consumer as opposed to a producer, you want to do that in the friend state. The warrior is really the only one that's producing. That's why it's the most important. You can't do any of these things ever. You're going to run out of stuff unless you're a bum or leeching off of others without this warrior state. Now, the monk stoic is not a producer or a consumer. The monk stoic is, I guess you could say it produces wisdom that gives to others, but it more, and I guess it consumes knowledge, but it's more of content with just being neutral in that sense. I put masturbation separate from the sex as the partier because the gremlin does not get sex. The the gremlin and nerd are typically alone, and they like the indoors as opposed to the monk stoic that really likes the nature. These three, nerd, partier, gremlin, they chase women. These three, friend, warrior, monk, attract women. You obviously, as should be pretty obvious by now, you want to be up here. You don't want to be down there. There are certain things like if you dip down into the party, you go out to a bar, maybe. If you have a lot of self control, you know, you could just have a drink or two, maybe with some friends, and then maybe you're more of in the friend than really in the partier state. But if you lose self control, maybe you quit nicotine and now you want some cigarettes, it snowballs. And, you know, if you indulge in here too much, you're just going to slip down. And it's really hard to get out once you're in the gremlin state because of the depression and because of the poor mental and physical health. You know, if you spend all day on video games, you're just going to slip, you're going to snowball down. While these things, you know, it's all about momentum. As we learn things and spend time with family and at nature, we're going to push ourselves up here. I think that covers everything. All dogs gotta eat. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps.